do I not hear anything? Good evening and welcome to the 568th episode of Travelwitch Radio. I'm Dan Schlossberg, along with my friend and co-host Roger Noriega, and we're in the 13th season of Travelwitch Radio, the show that lets you enjoy the pleasures of travel from the comfort of your armchair.
Every week at this time, we talk to people representing destinations, hotels, airlines, railroads, car rental companies, and others in the world of travel and hospitality, from authors and bloggers to broadcasters and publicists. If it's got anything to do with travel, it's got everything to do with Travelwitch Radio.
Our guest today is Crystal Ports, lead investigator of the Baltimore Paranormal Society. Welcome, Crystal, to Travelwitch Radio.
Thank you so much for having me.
What is the Baltimore Paranormal Society? When did it start? And how many members does it have?
That's a great question. To put it simply, we're just a team of local paranormal investigators who explore potentially haunted locations. We currently have 9 active members, but are recruiting more. Brian Pierce is our founder. There it is, our Natty Boo. He started it back in 2012, and it's just kind of morphed and developed into what it is today.
Crystal, tell us more about the Baltimore Paranormal Society. Does it host ghost walks or guided history tours? And do those occur only at night?
So unfortunately, we do not host ghost walks or history tours. We have been asked to do it. Not all of us are great at storytelling because we talk to no one in the dark. But we do host public events periodically. And yes, all of our investigating is done at night in the dark because it's scarier. Whether it's a public event or just us, we always find it important to give back to local buildings, historical societies, stuff like that, to help preserve the history of it.
And am I correct in telling viewers that your group is actually a team of investigators that uses equipment to prove the existence of spirits, and that you don't give ghost tours or tell ghost stories?
Yes, you are correct. We use a wide variety of different pieces of equipment, from very basic tools to very advanced tools. Between our equipment and our personal experiences, we really kind of set out to either prove or debunk paranormal activity.
And we are 2 days away from National Ghost Hunt Day, and you have a special event planned with the Lord Baltimore Hotel, so please share.
Yes. Well, first, let me say we're very honored to have been asked to do this. But we will be leading a public event, a public ghost hunt in several areas of the location. The event is Saturday, September 28th from 7 p.m. to 12:30 a.m.
Wow. How much do tickets cost, and where can people buy them?
They are $45 a ticket, and they're being sold through Eventbrite. All of the proceeds are going to a local charity, which is PMJ Foundation, which benefits at-risk youth in our community. You can find the link to purchase the tickets on the Lord Baltimore Facebook page or on the Baltimore Paranormal Society Facebook page.
We're talking with Crystal Ports about the Baltimore Paranormal Society.
This is the first time we've heard of National Ghost Hunt Day. So please tell us what you've done in previous years and what similar groups might be doing.
I have to admit, I really didn't know about it until last year either. But we really don't do big events for this specific day. We were asked to do this one, but every day is National Ghost Hunt Day to us. So I've seen other groups doing other stuff for this day. So I think it's really cool to have a day to recognize us weirdos.
Well, knowing that, I have to ask you about the movie Ghostbusters. It's billed a comedy, but don't you take your work seriously?
Yes. Well, first, let me say I love those movies. We do. It's kind of a double-edged sword. So we do have to take our work seriously, especially when we're getting involved with private events or private residence, like a family or, you know, anything like that, because you're dealing with somebody's livelihood. Like that's more personal. So we take that seriously. In any investigation, there are areas that you have to be careful in when you're doing EVP, when you're, you know, maybe a floor away from somebody, you have to be cautious about how loud you are and stuff like that. So there are aspects that we have to take seriously. The overall general gist of our group is we really don't take a whole lot outside of that seriously because, I mean, in all reality, we're not curing world hunger. We're sitting in dark rooms talking to ourselves. So we have fun with it.
Are we right that Halloween is a big deal for the society? Does your group do anything special for the holiday or even for Mischief Night the day before? Is that correct? Mischief Night?
I think, yeah, All Hallows Eve is Mischief Night. So we have before, we have hosted public events on All Hallows Eve on Mischief Night. We even tried our hand at doing a jump scare house. But some of us are parents, so we really spend more time trying not to get blisters and Charlie horses trick-or-treating on Halloween.
Are there other paranormal groups that exist in this country? And does your Baltimore group, if they do exist, do you interact with any of them?
There are. So there are a lot, probably more than I could even begin to count. We do interact with a lot of people. We attend different Paracons or different events, either as vendors or as patrons. But we love networking. I mean, I feel like nobody in this field is an expert. So the best thing that we can do is just kind of come together, learn from each other, bounce ideas off of each other. So I think it's detrimental to have that community.
I want to let you know that we have quite a few people watching us. Mike Beebe is cool. And of course, knowing the next question, what do you say to skeptics who just don't believe in any of the ghostly findings that have been reported? And John asked a question.
Yeah, I say, do you, Bill? I don't set out, and nobody on our team sets out to really prove anything. I mean, some of us are really consider ourselves kind of healthy skeptics. I always tell people, don't believe everything you hear just because somebody said so. Find out, prove stuff for yourself. We love listening to the accounts of locations that we go to, but what really matters to us is when I get in there and I have those experiences or I don't have those experiences.
Well, I ask you to forgive the next obtuse question. Do you believe in ghosts? And if so, why?
So I will say that I do.
Okay.
Only because of, the years that I've been investigating, the different experiences I've had. I've actually woken up to a full person, shadow person sitting on the side of my bed, probably from me to this computer screen. And it was startling. And there's really nothing that can explain that. So I do, but I believe that, there's energy all around us and I really can't subscribe to we die and that's it.
Wow. Yeah, I appreciate that. There might be a story there or two on my end, but it's not today. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking with Crystal Ports of the Baltimore Paranormal Society.
Crystal, Baltimore is a city that allegedly harbors many ghosts. Let's start with Fells Point, a waterfront area with many buildings from the 18th century, when the area was home to both shipbuilding and a thriving red light district. The 3 Bs from bars to brothels and boarding houses. Do you believe it's haunted, and what exactly is going on there?
Well, I believe that areas like that are kind of just soaked in history. The good, the bad, the ugly, all of that energy lingers. So I would be hard pressed to say that there's not something or someone still potentially lingering around.
The Admiral Fell Inn has 8 buildings, all dating back to the 1700s and used for various businesses, including brothels, saloons, and gambling halls. Witnesses claim they saw sailors floating in the air, heard knocks on doors when nobody was there, and even heard loud parties after the property was evacuated for an approaching hurricane. What have you heard about it, Crystal?
So we've actually investigated there a few times. Each of us had different experiences while we were there. I will say also the architecture and the history in the area is just so beautiful. So if you haven't been, go. The room specifically that I was in was a room that had a documented murder. So we were getting interaction on our equipment, but we used this one piece of equipment called a Phasma box. When we were using that, it's audible stuff that's coming out of this, computer that we're using. We're actually getting ship horns, or what sounded like ship horns, coming through. Now, we've used that in several other locations, none of which we've ever heard that come through again.
Do you know if Baltimore visitors take the original Fells Point Ghost Walk tour?
I hope so. So I will always say Baltimore is just such a beautiful, historic place that is just rich with complex history, and it deserves to be told.
And we're talking with Crystal Porch of the Baltimore Paranormal Society.
Getting back to the Lord Baltimore Hotel, it's always on the list of most haunted hotels in the country. Staff workers have reported seeing a little girl who seemed lost and two older people in formal attire who seemed to be searching for her. And then everyone vanished, according to the startled employee. What's the story, Crystal?
So that's what we're hoping to find out on Saturday. We've heard a lot of different rumors and a lot of different accounts. The hotel is almost 100 years old, so it's kind of drenched. That reminds me of something out of The Shining.
Oh,
it's kind of drenched in history.
Wow. Okay. Appreciate that. I understand that some 20 people, some in despair over the 1929 stock market crash, jumped off the roof of the Lord Baltimore Hotel, but have stayed as ghosts, if reports can be believed. One young couple took their 7-year-old daughter with them, but she's been playing with a red ball on the 19th floor. The elevator often stops there and the doors open, but no one is seen waiting to board.
That's a sad story if you really think about it.
Yeah.
Just as a mom, being in that space to where you feel like that's your last resort with your child. But we're hoping to, experience something. So we'll see. You gotta come out and come with us.
And if you have doubt, this is a place to go. No doubt about it. And we'll get to some of the other questions in a moment. In the book, Baltimore's Harbor Haunts, published in 2005, the Garrett Jacobs mansion is mentioned often, with Miss Robert Garrett Jacobs as Gilded Age socialite who lived in Baltimore's Mount Vernon neighborhood. She was known for lavish parties, and visitors to the mansion have seen apparitions of large groups of people. What can you tell us about that?
I can tell you that place is absolutely stunning. I personally don't believe that spirits or energy only linger in areas of sadness or tragedy. I feel like, if it was something that brought you joy and happiness, why wouldn't you want to go back? And once I go, I will guarantee you I will be at a ghost ball or party or two.
Sounds great. Like the Garrett Jacobs Museum, Fort McHenry, home of the national anthem, rates as one of Baltimore's top 500 spots and is in the book Baltimore's Harbor Haunts. The ghost here is said to be Lieutenant Levi Claggett, who was killed instantly when a British bomb hit his post at the fort. Visitors have reported seeing lights flicker, hearing footsteps, and catching a glimpse of a female apparition, plus a man in an 1800s-style military garb patrolling the area adjacent to the third bastion. They report it as a historical reenactment, but it is actually something else. What's your take, Crystal?
I think this is a good example of spirits or energies that might be attached or lingering to areas of war, trauma, something bad essentially happened there. And the ground is kind of soaked with that. I've always heard that area is off limits to like formal investigating, but I'm still holding out hope. I will say, no matter where you go, whether it's that location or a different one, always kind of be vigilant. Always be vigilant, because paranormal activity doesn't necessarily only happen at night or when you're looking for it.
This is Travel Witch Radio with Dan Schlossberg and Roger Noriega. We're in our 13th season, approaching our 600th episode. We're live at 5 New York time every Thursday on LinkedIn, YouTube, WhatsApp, X, Twitter, and Facebook, among others. And we're talking with Crystal Ports of the Baltimore Paranormal Society. Crystal, paranormal activity apparently extends into Baltimore Harbor, where the 1855 Civil War ship, the USS Constellation, is anchored. The bottom deck once housed prisoners and a sick bay. So visitors have witnessed deceased crew members on the decks, plus conversations and even screaming when nobody is there. Have you been there?
I have not. But I will say that we previously were in talks to do an event there. Unfortunately, that was right around COVID. So COVID happened, everything got pushed back. We were all sitting at home waiting to go ghost hunting again. So we're hopeful to revisit that location. I did see an episode, I think it was Holzer Files that it was on. It was very interesting, very interesting.
Edgar Allan Poe, the famous horror author, lived, worked, drank, and died in Baltimore. But the ghost that inhabits his house is said to be a portly woman with gray hair. Is she the one responsible for the sounds of knocking, windows and doors opening and closing, and thumps in the night?
It very well could be. I mean, Poe, if you really think about it, Poe has so many places in Baltimore he could be roaming if he is at all. For all we know, that could be his mom trying to look in on him, find him, track him down.
Okay. Poe's pet place was called the Horse You Came In On Saloon. Maryland's only bar before, during, and after Prohibition. The Horse was the last place Poe was seen alive. To this day, the register opens and closes by itself. The chandelier swings on its own, and beer mugs shatter for no apparent reason. Are these Poe pranks, Crystal?
Some of them sound like they could be, but I really wouldn't be sticking around if beer mugs are shattering. That seems more a little aggressive and very specifically aggressive.
Okay, Roger, we're talking with Crystal Ports of the Baltimore Paranormal Society.
I'd like to get to a few of the questions. And Noam Florina says, don't look, but there's a ghost behind you right now. I have to tell you that there is a ghost here in my office. But again, that's another story for another day. And Crystal, there's a question in the chat room. Do you use a Ouija board?
Not anymore. I did when I was young and dumb. I wasn't super comfortable with it because I really didn't know what I was doing. So ever since my personal experience with that, I do not. I know there's a lot of stigma around that. So we as a group collectively choose not to use them.
Okay. Appreciate it. It's good to know. What is the Essex Society of Essex and Middle River, and what has your group experienced there?
Sure. So the Heritage Society of Essex and Middle River is a local nonprofit museum. So the building dates back to the 1920s when it was a local fire police station and a courthouse, and it still has a couple holding cells in the back as well. Once each of those organizations kind of expanded and got their own area, that building was left abandoned and forgotten. So the local community kind of banded together and petitioned to save the building. They renovated it, and it's now turned into a museum. So it's essentially a melting pot of different artifacts from the area, all come with, their own individual stories. We've had everything from footsteps, doors shutting, intelligent interactions with our equipment and on our recording devices, audible voices, unexplained noises, a multitude of people reported being touched there. And I even witnessed with a couple other investigators a full body shadow figure there.
Oh, man. Wow. That's crazy. How about a place called the Baltimore County Almhouse? Opened in 1874, it apparently is the home of rambunctious children, talking women, and a man who fell down an elevator shaft at age 75. All of them are supposedly ghosts, but there's a cemetery in the backyard. What do you make of these reports?
So I don't know much about that, the house, the property, the land, but I do know that throughout the years, it kind of changed and morphed. which means the energy would change and morph as it goes through. So I think it's kind of like a little paranormal hotbed. I would love to get in there. It's definitely on our list to try to see if we can get in there and investigate some of those claims.
One of the oldest buildings in Baltimore is the Governor Calvert House, built in 1695, but expanded 4 times since. One of its ghosts is rumored to be Governor Benedict Calvert, who inhabited the house in the 1720s. Another one is supposedly to be a woman who killed herself in the house in the 1940s. Then there's Dominic, who worked and died at the house but is still there to gawk at women. During a renovation in the 1980s, the hotel owners called in paranormal investigators because of the sightings experienced by workers. What do you know of that?
I would not be as surprised at all. Typically, renovations just kind of stir up activity. It's almost like going into a dusty room and doing a spin. You're just going to stir up everything that's kind of settled. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Wow. Didn't think about that. I have to watch right here in my office then. Yeah. Like Governor Calvert House, Middleton Tavern also hosts a spirit who was once a hotel employee. Nicknamed Roland, he watches for incoming ferries while wearing Revolutionary period clothing and announces his presence with a definite aroma of cigar smoke, even though smoking is banned in the building. Wow. In addition, tables shake, glasses break, plates turn upside down, and wall lanterns are toppled. By whom?
I would love to say that I know. But I don't even have an educated guess. I've not had the pleasure of being in that building. However, whenever I hear stuff about like the table shaking, the glasses breaking, that it's interesting and it kind of makes me want to go a little bit more because that's something extreme that you don't typically see when you ghost hunt. So I kind of want to get in there more now.
What about the Westminster Burial Ground ghosts? The eternal home of Edgar Allan Poe, General Samuel Smith, and Colonel James McHenry has some strange goings on. Long after Poe died in 1849, a mystery man in black has left roses and a bottle of cognac, Poe's favorite drink, at his gravesite on the anniversary of his death. Wow. The grave of a murdered minister still emits screams, while the apparition of a 16-year-old girl praying at her own grave has been sighted. And in addition to that, what's the story with the 19th century groundskeeper who allegedly chases anyone who makes too much noise at the graveyard? Wow.
So I'm not sure. I have investigated there many times. That is a very favorite place of mine to go. I fortunately have not been chased, so I guess that means I'm quiet. But we have had like doors shaking for no reason. I mean, of course, we had intelligent interaction there. Wow. EVPs were captured underneath the church. So the whole area is a graveyard. But then at some point in time, they decided that the graveyard needs a church on top. So they put a church on, which essentially created a catacomb underneath the church where some of the graves are. It's a really, really cool place to go down there. It's really sad because a lot of people are down there and they seem to be forgotten. But we've actually caught shadows kind of off in the corner. As you're taking multitude of pictures, you can see something moving, something forming, something shifting that shouldn't be there. I actually had a guest one time when we did a public event. He sent me a video that he recorded at Poe's gravesite, which it sounds like an EVP. I don't know that it is Poe, but he got an EVP. He got an intelligent reaction to his question.
Crystal, would you remind me and the audience what an EVP is?
Sure. An EVP is an electronic voice phenomena. So we're going to record anything that we can't hear with our ears. So you can use your phone, you can use a fancy recorder, but when you play it back, it's going to be anything that you didn't audibly hear there.
Okay. Thank you, Donna. I want to acknowledge the comment. I'm not going to post it on screen, but thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking with Crystal Ports of the Baltimore Paranormal Society. Daniel?
Okay. Crystal, the word Baltimore Hotel, we've mentioned that a number of times. Does it get do you know, does it get more bookings around Halloween from people like you who hope to run into a ghost?
I honestly would probably bet to say yes. I can't say for sure, but I mean, who doesn't want to stay in a haunted hotel, right?
And I wonder if people request particular rooms. I know there's a couple of hotels in Pennsylvania that I know about in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, old hotels, where the general manager of one of those hotels, Dennis Costello, actually booked a room that had many reports of haunted activity. He told me he didn't see anything, but maybe he was there on a bad night. Maybe the ghost went out to dinner.
Listen, I always tell everybody who comes out to public events with me, or, you know, even if we're doing a private event, hunting or ghost hunting is kind of like hunting or fishing. If you've ever hunted or fished, you could sit out there for 8 hours and get absolutely nothing, but you could go out for 5 minutes and get the biggest buck or the biggest bass. And sometimes also it is about your intention going into it. So if you go in and you're cocky and you're, you know, all kinds of negative stuff flowing around, chances are nothing's going to interact with you. It's kind of like meeting people in person. You're either vibing or you're not.
Very good point. And do more of these sightings and activities occur around Halloween at all, or no?
I don't necessarily think so. I think if anything, it would probably occur around whatever date was significant. For example, off the top of my head, like the Battle of Gettysburg. Gettysburg is always haunted, but I feel like the activity picks up more around the time that the battle was taking place.
Okay. We're talking with Crystal Port of the Baltimore Paranormal Society. How do Travel Itch Radio viewers learn more about the Baltimore Paranormal Society?
So we are on Facebook. If you look up the Baltimore Paranormal Society, you will see our Natty Boo logo. That is us. Give us a like, a follow. We post updates about events or message us, anything.
Okay, and I love that picture we had with the red ball. I've got to show that again if I could put my hand on it. Here it is, the red ball. Is that ball supposed to move by itself? How does that work?
That is what the claim is. So the claim is, I guess, when you put the ball down, that the little girl is going to interact with it. So you're going to be able to see it move without anything touching it. So we are definitely going to have a few red balls to test that theory out.
That sounds great. Crystal, is there anything that we haven't asked you that you would like to add?
I don't think so. I think we covered a lot. I mean, I could go on for hours about spooky stuff. Don't get me wrong, but I think we covered a lot.
Well, Dan, let me interrupt. Would you be willing to join us on another program to talk about all those and maybe some other stories as well?
Absolutely. I got stories for days.
Wow. Let me show everyone what I have on screen from Facebook. This is it. The Baltimore Paranormal Society. And Crystal, I already, as we say in our language, I liked it. but that's the Latin in me, so I apologize. But I did, yes. And folks, check it out. That is the Baltimore Paranormal Society on Facebook. And you can head on over there. And maybe Crystal will join us for some other stories, because I have a few. And look at that already. Now, Noor, that was good. I wish, Donna, I have your post, but I get the impression someone's going to get offended. But I like that one. That was me chasing people in the graveyard. And then Noam says, get her back for next time. So, yes. We don't want to pin you down right now, but we would love to have you back for another program. And maybe
that would be so exciting. I would absolutely come back.
Look at that. Look at that.
Thank you so much. That's
we love
great.
her. Please have her back. So
Crystal,
awesome.
How do Travel Witch Radio viewers learn more about the Baltimore Paranormal Society?
So if you follow us on Facebook, we will post updates. Again, we don't do a whole lot of public events, but when we do, we be sure to let people know. I always encourage everybody to come out, skeptics, non-skeptics. Come on out. We love everybody equally. We'll show you all our stuff.
Our guest today has been Crystal Port, lead investigator of the Baltimore Paranormal Society. Thank you, Crystal, for being our guest on Travel Witch Radio.
Thank you so much for having me. I've had a blast.
I did too. And I think Roger did too, even though he's not smiling at the moment. But that,
Because this is real.
well, it's maybe because of the cat, but whatever. Anyway, viewers, this is the 50th anniversary of the home run that broke Babe Ruth's record. By the way, Babe Ruth is Baltimore roots too. Babe Ruth's record fell to Hank Aaron. This is also your chance to share the excitement with my new biography, Home Run King, the remarkable record of Hank Aaron, featuring a foreword by Dusty Baker, future Hall of Famer. This 265-page hardcover explores Aaron's contributions as a home run hitter on and off the field, as an athlete, and as an advocate for civil rights. That's Home Run King, the remarkable record of Hank Aaron. Get it today on Amazon.com. And that's it for this edition of Travel Witch Radio. Next week, same time, same place, same writer, same announcers. We'll talk fear of flying and other travel paranoia with master hypnotist Chris Halbum, live at 5 Eastern. Now, this is Dan Schlossberg, along with my friend, co-host, and producer, Roger Noriega, saying thank you for your time at this time. Until next time, good night and stay safe.